Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Thursday, May the 19th, 2016. Good to have you all here for our second of two shows this week. Hope your week has been treating you well here for this In the Spotlight 411 show here on this Thursday night. Again, hope your week is treating you well. As you probably all know, those of you that watch us or listen to us regularly, we are on the air late, and again, it is because I had to work late, so I apologize for that. But again, I gave you kind of a heads up. So, the good thing is, I think for a while, at least for well next at least for a while, I think we're done having late shows. So that's good. As next Thursday we will not have a show, and I'm working next Thursday, but we don't have a show, so therefore you don't have to worry about it. But anyway, so my apologies. Thank you for your patience tonight. Let's get going here, as we always do, by reminding you all of the ways in which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please remember to use the hashtags, hashtag itspotlight411, hashtag ITS5, which of course represents the 5th anniversary on the air as a podcast, or you can create your own hashtag. If we're talking about wrestling, you can do hashtag ITS wrestling. Talk about basketball, hashtag ITS basketball. Whatever you want to do, just be creative, have fun. Just don't be offensive or insulting or disrespectful. That's the only thing we ask. You can also find us on Facebook. To find our fan page on Facebook, make sure you search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. Make sure you like our fan page upon finding it. All right. So, one little thing I want to mention really quick. You all know I always post the links to the show on Facebook and on Twitter. Well, the Twitter link is fine, and the Facebook page, I always post two links on Facebook. I post it through my own personal page and also, of course, through the fan page for the show. Well, the link that went through the fan page for the show, it says there's an error. Like if you look in the graphic that accompanies the link, it says there's an error. The link does work, even though the graphic says there's an error. So if you happen to see that, don't be alarmed or anything. We were already late. I didn't want to deal with changing it, so just be aware of that. All right, so this is our second of two shows this week. It is a sports entertainment combo, as on Tuesday we had an all-wrestling show previewing WWE's Extreme Rules pay-per-view, which is coming up this Sunday. So that meant that we kind of switched things around this week. Normally we do the wrestling show tonight. We did it on Tuesday. Tonight we're doing a sports entertainment combo. So here's what's on tap for tonight. We're going to start with sports. It's just going to be NBA stuff. Yes, there's Eastern Conference Finals Game 2 going on tonight. A series that Cleveland leads 1-0. We'll update you on that score throughout the night tonight, as we always do when we work during the playoffs here. But yes, our only sports stuff will be NBA playoff stuff. There really is nothing else going on. As I mentioned last week, there is some baseball stuff that is worth getting to. But again, I'd rather wait. And you all know this. Those of you that watched or listened to us over the years, you know this. Sometimes we wait on talking about baseball in depth until June anyway. There are a couple of things we're talking about, but there are things that I think are worth more in terms of discussion once you watch them develop. I think it's real. I just think this is something better suited for June, when you've had 2 months of the season and things can change in an instant. So I'd rather wait on some of the baseball stuff. So and outside of baseball and NBA, there really isn't much going on. And hockey, none of you really want to talk about anything with hockey, so there's no need to talk about anything there. So our only sports stuff tonight will be NBA playoffs, and that's what we're going to start with. And then entertainment, we'll do our usual stuff: box office beat, TV highlights. We're not going to do any film picks yet, because some of the films that I would look at are films that are still out, and I kind of like to wait until they're almost on the precipice of not necessarily not being in theaters, but once I feel like the majority of people have seen them, then I feel like it's safe to approach that. So we're going to wait another week or two on film picks and leave those alone. So box office beat, TV highlights, and then there's a couple little entertainment news pieces that you all want us to talk about that we are going to talk about, because I think they are worth talking about, especially in light of what we've discussed over the last couple months. So, and that'll be the show. So it's not going to be a very long show at all, probably about what we've been doing for these later shows, maybe an hour or so, maybe less, depends. Next week, one show, and that show will be on Tuesday, and that too will be a sports entertainment combo show, only with a little bit of wrestling thrown in. So on the wrestling side of things, we'll obviously talk about the aftermath of WWE Extreme Rules, as well as Monday Night Raw. On the sports side of things, NBA playoffs, and obviously we'll update you on any games going on during that night. And that'll pretty much be the sports thing, unless something else big comes up. And then entertainment, box office beat, TV highlights, and that'll probably be it, because I don't think we'll have any time for entertainment news discussion. So that'll be on Tuesday. Next Thursday, we are preempted. Next weekend is Memorial Day weekend, so I'd just rather stay away from that. So that's just coming up next week. And the week after, I believe we will definitely have two shows, but I'll let you know on Tuesday for sure. Once you head into summer, things get a little, up and down with our preemptions and stuff. But still, I believe we'll have 2 shows the week after. So, all right. So that's the lay of the land for the next couple of weeks, for tonight and next week and so on. So there you go. My co-host Mike is in the spotlight. Mike, how you doing?
Here.
Yeah. That's my feeling. All right. So as I said, we do have Eastern Conference Finals Game 2 going on tonight. I will update you. It just got underway, so I'm not going to give a score update yet. It just started. So Cleveland and Toronto, this game 2, of course, from Cleveland. Cleveland leads 1-0. Cleveland has yet to lose a game in these playoffs.
And just like that.
Yeah, right.
Here we are.
But let me
put it up.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna since we are talking about Cleveland, this is gonna be very quick, and I don't want to give short shrift to the Eastern Conference playoffs, but you kind of have to, because what can you talk about? First of all, kudos to Toronto for advancing this far for the first time in their history. You know, their guards finally came out to play in Game 7 against the Heat. Larley and all the guys were big. Okay, DeRozan was big. The guys that needed to be big came up big. And that's what needed to be done. They haven't had that all playoffs. That's why they almost lost in the first round. Toronto's a good team. Are they anywhere near as good as Cleveland? No. If Cleveland wasn't in the East, obviously Toronto's the 1 seed, and then they'd have a chance to get to the NBA Finals. But here's the problem, though. They are very heavily dependent on their guards and shooting the ball well. If they don't shoot the basketball well, they get beat. They're not very good in the paint. They get out-rebounded a lot. That's their Achilles heel. And with Cleveland, that's going to be a problem. Especially since Cleveland is shooting the ball very well. And for everybody that's going crazy about, Cleveland hasn't been challenged, that they're so dependent on the three-point shot. Cleveland is not dependent on the three-point shot. They're doing it in the playoffs because people are allowing them. They're taking what's being given to them. If you rewind back to last year, the reason why Cleveland didn't do as well in the finals against Golden State was because they didn't shoot the ball well. Cleveland is more of a go-to-the-basket attack kind of team anyway. So if they have to go back to that style, they will go back to that style without issue.
Because remember, Cleveland's strength is a LeBron's strength.
Mm-hmm.
How good LeBron is, what he's the best at, Cleveland kind of, kind of melts to him almost.
Agreed. And Irving too. Irving, when you think of Kyrie Irving, you don't think of him as a three-point shooter or a jump shooter. Kyrie Irving goes to the basket. That's what he does. So you got two of their top 3 players are guys that go to the basket. So when the time comes, and they have done it in these games, mind you, when the time comes to be more about that, they will do that. But if you're just going to allow them to get these kind of shots, I mean, they're getting really good shots. If you're going to allow it, they're going to take them, and they're making them. So why? It's not broke. Don't fix it. I mean, hasn't hurt them yet. So. I mean, honestly, I don't get like the criticism there. I mean, look, it's just ridiculous. Toronto, to me, is a good team, but they don't match up well here at all. And look, I'm not saying that Cleveland's very good in the paint either. Okay, they're not always the best rebounding team. They're not always great in the paint either. But they don't have to be great, and that's the thing. They don't have to be great in this series in the paint to win the series. They don't.
They just have to be better, played better than Toronto.
Right, and they have the better players, so that should be easy. That's just the bottom line. Sometimes you get these series where it's just as simple. You have the better players. And don't underestimate what they've been able to do. You know, they did something. It was very subtle what they changed coaches, and that's been tremendous for them. But the one thing that they did that I thought was a very subtle thing, what was the big thing we talked about in the offseason with Cleveland was, will Kevin Love stay or go? Well, you know what they did? They went out and got Channing Frye, who can play the 5 and allows Kevin Love to play stretch 4, even a 3 if you want to go really big. And it's taken a lot of pressure off Kevin Love, allowed him to have more open looks, more open shots. Kevin Love has had a great season. He looks content. He looks happy, which he hasn't looked in 3 years. it's helped a lot, and it's changed everything. Plus, the fact that Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving are healthy, on top of that, has helped us tremendously too. So,
Yeah.
so it really
that cannot be stressed enough. See, if they had come to this conclusion like years ago that maybe we should get another big guy to kind of play alongside of Kevin Love, so he doesn't have to do every damn thing ever.
right.
That's not not LeBron. Their position right now, and they figured it out. The problem is, actually, I don't know if it's a problem because the Warriors are kind of holding their, or the Thunder are holding their own. So
very true. Well, I'm just going to say this right now. I mean, I think you have to. I don't want to be very dismissive of Toronto because I do think Toronto could probably win a game, but I honestly do not see this series going more than 5 games. I think Cleveland's going to win tonight. I think they're going to win at least one in Toronto. At least one. Probably more than likely they're going to win 2. They're probably going to close the series. Well, it's 2-2. It's 2-2, 1-1-1. That's what it is. So, yeah, they're going to get at least one in Toronto. I think they're going to end this series in 5 games. I really do. I think they're just that much better. It's not a knock on Toronto. Good year for them. They got a couple of things they have to do. They have to fight. They have to improve their work in the paint. They got to get better at rebounding. They fix those issues, and they're going to be a team to watch for sure. They've had 2 great seasons. They were the 3 seed last year. They're the 2 seed this year. If they keep that team together and build around it, then they got something really good going there. But you're not beating Cleveland with this team. It's not happening. And, again, you can question whether Cleveland will go into these into the NBA Finals challenge. You can question that, yes. But they also have 3 really good players on this team that, as long as they're healthy, I don't buy into the whole challenge thing. I think it's more about matchups and it's more about execution. If they play the matchups the right way and they execute the way they've been executing this entire postseason, then Cleveland's going to be very competitive in the NBA Finals no matter who they play. I've seen enough to feel like that at this point. It will not be a cakewalk. It wasn't a cakewalk last year when Irving and Kevin Love were down. So you can't think it'll be a cakewalk when they're both healthy, assuming they will be. Hopefully they will be. So that's the Eastern side of things. There's not much you can say there. The West side of things has been even more intriguing. The Spurs, what the Thunder did. First of all, I want to give credit to the Thunder because, a lot of people gave up on the Thunder 2 years ago, including myself. I thought they missed their window. Last year, Durant got hurt. Westbrook, there was injuries all over the place. The team was a mess. They got rid of Scott Brooks, which I know I'm not saying Scott Brooks was the second coming of Phil Jackson or anything, but I wasn't 100% on board with the decision. They go get Billy Donovan, who, boy, I bet he's glad he held out until he got a decent job. Because he walked right into a team that's not only a playoff team, but at least going to be a top 5 team in the West every year if they're healthy. So talk about walking into a good situation, plus one of the best home court advantages in the NBA. And all of a sudden, Billy Donovan teaches them really the fundamentals of basketball. Now, I still, people, anybody that thinks they actually defend, they don't defend the ball well at all, okay? All right? They don't. They defend like North Carolina defends, okay? That's what they do. Exactly. So that's what my point is. But what they do right now that they didn't do under Scott Brooks is that they're a better passing team. They are more self-aware. They're better with turnovers, although that cost them dearly last night. And they play smart now. They don't force things. They let things come to them. They're better at shot selection, things like that, and they're a little more unselfish. And he finally got into Westbrook's head and told him, "Hey, there's 4 other guys on the floor with you, including Kevin Durant." So that's helped them tremendously too. You can't underscore what Oklahoma City did to the Spurs. They beat the Spurs on the road and twice on the road, which is amazing to do. Getting them once is one thing. Getting them twice, and In that last game, they deconstructed the San Antonio Spurs. Yes, the Spurs didn't shoot the ball well. Yes, they turned over the ball, but they deconstructed them offensively. They gutted the defense of the San Antonio Spurs, which is almost unheard of. But they did it. And they made shots when they had to, and they won these games. So you got to give them credit. Regardless of what happens here, they did something I don't think anybody gave enough credit to do. I mean, they are a 3 seed in the West, sure, but not a lot of people thought they could overcome the Spurs. I mean, if it wasn't for Golden State, we'd be talking about how great of a year the Spurs had historically, okay? So that's a testament to Thunder and Billy Donovan's coaching down what they did in that series. And Adams, who's been great in these playoffs, was huge in that series. He's been huge so far in these playoffs. And then you come into this Golden State series, and Golden State obviously – look, once they got Curry back and once they won that Game 4, that series against Portland was over. You give Portland credit for making it competitive, especially when Golden State really did not play well at all early in that series. But you know what? We all knew everything changed on a dime in that Game 4. Curry came back, and that was the end of the series. Okay, they were at full strength, and they came together. They kind of came out of their cocoon a little bit, and that was it. Now you get a Golden State team full on momentum. This thriving coming into the series, a Thunder team that's obviously very much thriving after beating the San Antonio Spurs in the way that they did, and I want you. This is a very careful thing. I want to be careful here because I don't want to take credit away from the Thunder, because the Thunder did on top of beating the Spurs twice on the road, they beat Oklahoma City. They beat Golden State on the road, and but we all know how tough it is to win in Oracle. And they win convincingly. But if you watch that game, Golden State hurt themselves. They turned over the ball a ton. They didn't make shots. They forced shots up. Their shot selection was horrible. Which if they're going to do that, then that's not Golden State. Okay, that's their whole offense is based off of passing the ball well, not turning the ball, even though they're prone to turnovers, but limiting them as much as they can. And this good shot selection. They get good shots. They're unselfish and they get good shots. If they're going to force shots, then they're going to have a bad night, and they did. And that's why they lost that game just as much as anything Oklahoma City did. And you saw the change last night, the adjustments that they made last night, which were simple. Limit the turnovers, which they did. Better shot selection, which they did. And if you're going to get those shots, you got to make them, which they did. And Iguodala came up big at the end of the second half. His little surge at the end of at the end of the first half. His surge at the end of the first half broke Oklahoma City. They never were the same. And Golden State got out in front. Curry went off in the third quarter, and that was the end of it. And then for every bet, it was like the script got reversed because that's kind of what happened in Game 1 with Oklahoma City. Their big guy, in Game 1. Golden State's big three didn't really do much, and they were forcing shots, and the shot selection was bad. That's what happened to Oklahoma City's big guys in Game 2. It was like the script got flipped, almost the same script as different teams, and the result is a 1-1 series. Now you're going to Oklahoma City. Now Oklahoma City still maintains the home court now because they won that first game. Now you're Golden State. What do you want to do? You got to split here. If you split here, then you know what? Then at least you know that there's you still like your chances. But I think what Golden State can see now is you cannot, and they should have seen it before they got into the series because of what they did to the Spurs. You can't take Oklahoma City lightly. You can't. Adams is playing very well. I know he's banged up a little bit, but he's playing very well. You still got Ibaka there. Waiters has been great. Westbrook's been phenomenal. I mean, if they get the production they're getting out of their, if they get the production they're getting out of their big guys, then it's going to be a hell of a series. It's going to go at least 6 games. I think you can say that now at this point. You can say that it's going to go at least 6 games. But I'll say this, and you all remember me saying this about the Spurs Thunder series. If the Thunder are going to beat the Spurs, you got to get them in 6. Do not let that game go. Do not let that series go back to San Antonio. They didn't. They got it done in 6. If you're the Thunder and you are in the lead and you go into Game 6 in your building, do not let that series go back to Golden State. If it does, you are not winning. If you have the lead in the series, you finish it out at home. Close it out. Because if you let that, you do not want to tempt fate and playing the Oracle in an elimination game. You do not want to do that. So that's the same situation as they were in the previous series. If they're going to win this, they're going to pull off this monumental upset, they have got to get it done in 6. No question. No question. That's really where you're at. They don't play again until Sunday. Allow some of these guys that are banged up to kind of rest up a little bit. Don't ask me why they don't play till Sunday, but they do. And, of course, the scene will shift to Oklahoma City for Game 3 and 4. So we'll see what happens. Should be an interesting little – should be interesting to see. The Thunder have definitely opened some eyes, that's for sure. Mike, do you have anything to add?
Crap, I thought you'd never stop talking.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Series is tied 1-1. I don't disagree with you. No, that's okay. I'm just gonna wait for you to stop sipping. Just.
I'd appreciate if you start talking so you can cover that up, by the way.
I was about to start talking, and then you just kept doing it. So it's like, no, this is what's going to happen now.
All right, okay, fair enough. I'll let you go on that. Fair enough.
Well, yeah. So Golden State evens the series. Going back to Oklahoma City now. Building to play. One of the toughest buildings to play in. Oklahoma City needs to these games in Oklahoma City. They really do. Because when I say you're not wrong, I mean you're not wrong. Because if this series finishes State, they're winning. That's it. They're winning. Oklahoma City, despite losing Game 2, they already set out they already accomplished what they set out to do. They neutralized home court. They're going back 1-1. That's all they could have really have hoped for. So Golden State off their game. Maybe Golden State just figured, we're not playing the Spurs, so we're just going to come in and just, hey, we've only lost 9 games this year. Golden State's not worried, or Oklahoma City's like, I don't give a crap, because those 9 games don't mean shit unless you win a championship.
Right.
So here's the thing. Now it's 1-1. If Oklahoma City actually handles their business at home, this NBA season kind of gets flipped on its head, because the story was, the historic season the Golden State Warriors have had. They beat the Chicago Bulls record. They had this great season. But again, it don't mean shit unless you win the title. It don't mean shit. You.
I know you. I got that sense that you were doing that.
That water bottle was empty after the second time. It don't mean shit. They have to win the title. Because now pressure's on Golden State. Because that's the thing you didn't mention. The pressure's on Golden State, not just to take a game in Oklahoma City. They're probably going to take at least a game. But now history is calling them. They had the best regular season of all time. Now every round they get closer to the NBA championship, there's more pressure. I know Steph Curry can handle it. Can Klay Thompson? You know what they say about Klay, right?
Yeah, I know.
Klay Thompson. But that being said, The series got interesting the moment Oklahoma City took game 1. Then they got blown out in game 2. So it's gonna be interesting for them. Excuse me. You know how you said that lost the game in the series yet? Well, Toronto just took the lead.
Yeah, well, it's early yet.
Oh, it's the first quarter, but I'm just saying we don't ever mention that crap.
What do you care?
Because, you know.
Well, it's 23-22. 3 minutes left in the first. So it's not, again, the game on ESPN, folks, if you're interested. But, yeah, it's not that big of a deal.
The next couple games are going to be Cleveland versus Toronto anyways. You don't mention that. If you just let it happen.
Oh, well.
You just let it happen. Jinx it because I'm Wayne Gardner. This is my show. Blah, blah, blah. But the point, well, the truth is it really doesn't matter if we mention it or not. It's just a silly superstition. They're going to lose if they're going to lose. They're going to win if they're going to win.
Right.
It is what it is. Toronto, and the truth is Toronto really doesn't have the personnel to match up with Cleveland.
No, they don't.
They really don't. The team I think that matches up well with Cleveland is Golden State to an extent. It's just that Cleveland's better all around.
Right.
So if by some miracle Cleveland draws Oklahoma State in the finals, if I were the city of Cleveland, I would be very hopeful. If you draw Golden State, then it's going to be the nail biter.
Yeah.
But that being said, Toronto somehow trashed Miami. No momentum going into that last game. They had no momentum. That last game kind of sealed the series somehow. And then you walk right into Cleveland and you get your ass handed to you. So if any team's going to come back from getting their asses handed to them and having no momentum, it's the Toronto Raptors. Because that's been their story all series long. And the poor people of Canada, they don't root for right now. How many Canadian teams made the playoffs? I'll give you a hint. None. To root for somebody. And they're sure not ready to root for the Blue Jays yet. They're rooting for the Raptors. And when the Raptors come out and crap the bed in game 1 of the divisional playoffs, they're like, oh no, here we go again. And it's the Eastern Conference Finals. They're competing with Cleveland. Cleveland's just got more personnel, more manpower. They're going to beat the Raptors in at least 6 games maximum.
Right.
But the hockey series, yes. The number one seed, Washington Capitals, the favorite to win it all, lost.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh Penguins currently have a 2-1 lead over the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I have no reason to talk about it. It's just you already rambled on about the NBA, so why not talk about hockey real quick? It's not like we're going to ignore this anyway, but why not? I mean, the St. Louis Blues, that he has had any faith in since the 90s, by the way. Since the 90s. Western Conference Finals, excuse me, with the San Jose Sharks.
Wow.
Exactly terrible. Exactly terrible.
Yep.
By the way, seed Anaheim Ducks, who have just been a monster these last couple of years. Blackhawks. They're gone. They're out. They are out. See who won the conference? Dallas. The Dallas Stars. They're out. So if you were in Anaheim or Dallas hoping for another Stanley Cup, I have bad news for you. Panthers. Hey, who knew that Florida had a good hockey team? Raise your hand. Florida Panthers had a good hockey team. Are they in the Eastern Conference Finals? No. So we're down to Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh. Who's against the Penguins? I think they're the favorite to win it all at this point. Kid wants to hoist up another cup. I think one?
Yep.
I think he's only gotten one. And what's sad because this time they have actually a fairly loaded team. That's a name I remember somehow. I don't think I'm saying it right though. And they have a couple of really solid goaltenders. So I think Pittsburgh is the fan. They're not the fan favorite. Who gives a shit? This is the favorite to win all in the NHL. Why not? Because literally, that's playoff hockey and it's playoff basketball. Who cares about the MLB regular season? Who cares that Seattle's number one in the AL West? They're usually number one at this time. They usually shit the bed really, really soon. Who cares that the Baltimore Orioles in the American League, they usually shit the bed coming for pretty soon too. Do you know who's probably going to shit the bed pretty hard this year, Brian?
What? Okay.
How does it feel with the Nets? The Mets. The fictional Mets are New York's baseball team right now.
It's the same feeling of last year. The Mets got to the World Series, and the Yankees were out in the first round. Nothing new there.
Yeah, well, then the Mets lost. Let's be clear here. Let's be honest here. The Yankees are currently sucking it up.
Mm-hmm.
The eye of baseball, the eye of MLB is squarely in Chicago.
As it should be.
Where the White Sox leading the division. The Cubs, who literally haven't won in over 100 fucking years, are leading baseball with the best record.
Yeah.
Actually win it this year. Hell might literally freeze over.
I hope they do.
I hope they do too, but if hell freezes over, that means we get Trump, and we don't want Trump.
This is quite entertaining.
People actually want Donald Trump, in which case, save yourself.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Yes, people hold the opinion the Earth is flat still. Yes, everybody is welcome to their own opinion. However, their opinion can be wrong.
Wow, you took us to a lot of places. Politics, NHL, MLB. Wow, that was quite entertaining.
Yeah, because I had to spend my 10 minutes talking about something while you wasted 20 minutes talking about the NBA. So I talked about the rest of the sports for once.
You did great. You did great. Well, the NBA.
I know I did.
You did great, but the NBA is the big thing. So,
I know I did great.
There is a couple of things that we got emails about that people wanted me to touch on real quick. And really,
still sucks.
Well, we know that. The Knicks have hired Jeff Hornacek as their new head coach. So we went.
Jeff Hornacek.
We went from Derek Fisher to Jeff Hornacek. Now, here, let me bring another piece of news to you. Okay, that I think is a good contrast to this. The Orlando Magic hired Frank Vogel as their head coach. The same Frank Vogel, who's been with the Indiana Pacers, 7 seasons, done a great job. Now you know that he's been on the hot seat the last couple of years because they wanted him out. They wanted to make a change. Well, I guess he's just decided he's put himself out there and he's going to the Orlando Magic to be the coach for 4 years after Scott Skiles resigned a week ago. So yeah, now to his credit, that it's a rebuilding project, but Magic went with a guy that's proven himself to be a great defensive mind and a good solid coach. He turned the Pacers around. Meanwhile, the Knicks hired Jeff Hornacek. Tell me what's wrong with this picture.
The Jeff Hornacek still isn't playing for the Utah Jazz.
Well, that is something wrong with that. Yeah, that is true. Look, Jeff Hornacek might end up being a really good coach. I don't know. But I can't believe that Phil Jackson has hired two in a row, hired 2 former players in a row. Now, I know a lot of guys, coaches are former players, but I'm really surprised he didn't go with somebody that with experience after Derek Fisher. I really am surprised by that. I don't know if it's because he wants to import whatever, his triangle on whoever's the coach. I don't know what it is. But I honestly think, Avery Johnson, Avery Johnson's coaching in college now, but you could probably poach him and get him to play coach in the NBA again. And there's a lot of George Karl. There's a lot of good coaches out there you could have hired to be the next coach. Jeff Hornacek. No disrespect to Jeff Hornacek, good player. But the New York Knicks, 2 inexperienced coaches in a row. I could see trying Derek Fisher, it didn't work out. I don't know about that. I really don't. Frank Vogel is a good choice for the Magic, though. And by the way, there are rumors that the Magic, with Frank Vogel as coach, will try to make a play to bring Dwight Howard back. Because they think it could end up being like Cleveland and LeBron. It was a mistake to leave, homecoming, blah, 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 that kind of thing. I honestly don't see that happening. I don't think Dwight will even want to do that, to be honest.
I would be shocked if anybody even takes Dwight, but Dwight still thinks he has value. Hey, speaking of more relevant news, other than who's the next latest schlep of the ESPYs this year?
John Cena.
I'll give you a hint.
Don't play the music. We got in trouble. Do not play the music. We actually did get in trouble. Don't, Mike. Don't play it. We got in trouble.
No, that's a lie, and you know it.
Yes,
John Cena is the host. No, I don't want to say it. John Cena is the host of the ESPY Awards.
That's actually a good gig for him.
It is a better, you know what? It's probably the best host they could have gotten. From the sports world, they could have gotten.
See, after what we saw Kevin Owens post on Twitter today, I kind of hope people start chanting for him in that, so Kevin Owens can come out and powerbomb him.
Aren't we all hoping for Kevin Owens? But he's not going to host the ESPYs. He did. As much as I love Kevin Owens, and I do, have the connections yet in the sports world to kind of do it, to kind of like big, get a big hosting gig like that.
Mm-hmm.
However,
John Cena.
That's hilarious.
No, that's a good gig for him, though. I think he's going to do good on that. Doing that, I think he's going to do really good.
Cena's one of the better guys you can get for that, something like that. I just hope they don't rush the title on him just so they can say, "Hey, WWE champion John Cena is the host of the ESPYs." Yeah. My music. It's a terrible idea. We shouldn't do that.
How accurate that is. Well, I think it's accurate thing. I think it's a good gig for him. But anyway, I just want to touch on the Magic news and the Knicks news. And there is another piece too. The Rockets apparently are going to be naming a coach soon. It's rumored that it's going to be Mike D'Antoni. So
Fair enough.
Hey, Mike's a good coach as long as you I mean, you gotta have an assistant coach that's got a defensive mind with him. But Mike's a good coach, and maybe you know what, Harden's still going to be there. He might be a good coach for Harden. We'll see, but that's that. But the coaching carousel in the NBA is starting to churn a little bit. So, yeah. So, all right, we're done with the NBA. We're done with the sports stuff.
You want to hear a funny football story?
Go ahead.
Apparently, Tony Romo was in North Carolina. He was arrested in the wrong bathroom. Go to the bathroom in the men's room.
Of course he did.
He tried. He couldn't read the signs. He said he couldn't read the signs on the bathroom door, on the field, wherever. He had a hard time doing it. And for the record, this story is false.
I kind of wish it was true, though, just for the giggles. But, yeah.
.com actually had to do fact-checking mission on this. Oh, Tony Romo was not arrested for using the men's room in North Carolina.
That is funny, though.
It is funny. It is.
All right.
Almost as funny as the box office this week.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, we are weaving the sports world. I think we covered enough there. We did all the NBA stuff. So, and Mike took us to other sports too. So there you go.
You're welcome.
A really quick score update before we move on. 39-35 Cleveland with 8:42 left in the second quarter. So Cleveland back out in front. All right, the box office. Well, here's the thing. And once again, it's same song, different verse. Captain America Civil War is number one. No surprise there. However, once again, there are questions of the performance of Captain America Civil War and how it underperformed according to expectations. So once again, we're gonna do what we did last week and say this: whose expectations did it underperform by? Was it people on a message board? Was it certain pundits that overinflate everything? Or was it what Disney, the actual studios, Disney and Marvel expected? Because if you go by what Disney and Marvel expected, this movie never underperformed. They expected what they got in the opening weekend domestically, and they expected what they got in the second weekend domestically. It had a similar, it's doing similarly to Age of Ultron and Iron Man 3, which is what they thought it would do. Except worldwide, it's getting a bigger number. And right now, it's going to cross $1 billion this weekend. It is now the number one movie worldwide of 2016, passing Zootopia at $981 million. Batman versus Superman has dropped to number 3 at $870. So Captain America: Civil War beat that in less than 2 weeks. And then you got Jungle Book, and then you got Deadpool. What a fun grouping. Disney's got 3 of the top 5. That's interesting. But anyway, yeah, so really, when it comes down to this, and it's the same thing that we talked about last week, so I'm not going to belabor the point. This movie is not underperforming. It's only underperforming according to people that really got overhyped about it and thought it was going to pull in bigger numbers than Jurassic World or something, okay? Or even this wasn't going to be Star Wars. This wasn't even going to be Jurassic World. If anything, it was going to be between Age of Ultron and the original Avengers, or maybe close to the original Avengers, on the high end, if everything fell into place. But Disney and Marvel never thought that. They always thought it would be between 170 and 180 million opening weekend, and that it would pull in around 70, 80 million in its second weekend. And then worldwide, they thought together it'd make $1 billion, and it's going to do that. Well over $1 billion. So it's fine. The movie is fine. There's no bad. As much as some people would like to paint some negativity here, there's no negativity here. Now, on the flip side, I think the Jungle Book continues to be a fascinating story because in its 5th week, it's dropping 30% a week. Against Civil War last week, it held over $20 million, which is amazing. And then this week, it held over $17 million, which again is amazing. This movie, the whole of this movie, along with Zootopia, which has held well for 11 weeks, it's still at 2.8 million, which is ridiculous. The whole of Jungle Book and Zootopia has been amazing. I mean, I just can't believe that. Especially Jungle Book. who is fighting with Civil War for theaters. Crazy how well it's done, especially the last 2 weeks. The two new releases, Money Monster and The Darkness. Money Monster actually did very well. It's only a $27 million budget. It pulled in 14.7. I thought it could pull in around 16, 17 million. It pulled in 4. That's not too bad. And right now it's up to 23.9 million on a $27 million budget. So it's going to make its budget back. And again, in the summertime in May with the competition, that's a good number. You'd like it to be a little better, but it's a good number. The only reason why it's not a great number is because you got Julia Roberts and George Clooney, and then you expect a little bit more, but it's a solid good number. The Darkness put in 4.9 million, which is no surprise, and it's not exactly it's not a good number, but again, considering the competition and the time of year, and I mean, what did you expect? It's a PG-13 horror movie. Only big name in it's Kevin Bacon, and there wasn't a whole lot of excitement about it. So there you go. So no surprise there. And everything else finished under 5 million, including Mother's Day. So the story was Civil War dominating again, 60% drop off, which again was expected. It's already cost 300 million domestic. It's going to be $1 billion worldwide, probably by tomorrow. So it's in good shape. Jungle Book continues to hold well, as does Zootopia, even though Zootopia is down below 5 million. Money Monster did okay. And The Darkness flopped, which I think we all thought it would. And I mean, it's not a huge flop because it's a smaller movie anyway, but it's still a flop. And there you go. So there's not much you can say outside about last week. Now you look at this week, and now the second week of May is always about. You might have 1 or 2 movies, and they just kind of hope for the best. Then you get to that third week, and then the summer kind of starts to unfold a little bit. You start bringing in more movies to compete with the big movie, whatever started the summer, and then you start playing things out. This weekend, you have 2 R-rated comedies, one of which is more of a comedy thriller, one of which is a general comedy. And then you got an animated movie that is based on a cell phone game. Okay, so and all are major releases. So you got 3 movies. The biggest release is the Angry Birds movie from Sony Columbia, opening in 3,932 theaters, animated again with the voice talents of Jason Sudeikis, Josh Gad, Danny McBride, Bill Hader, Maya Rudolph, and Peter Dinklage. It's already made $43 million overseas, so it's off to a good start. $73 million budget. It's getting middle of the road reviews, but it's going to do well. It's probably going to spark a franchise. It's going to do well. Zootopia. This is probably what's going to drop Zootopia the rest down past under a million. It's going to finish it off because it's going to take all its theaters. But Zootopia's had 11 weeks. So yeah. So Angry Birds is going to take the theaters, and it'll do very well because again, even though Zootopia's been doing good, most people have already seen it. So it's going to, Angry Birds will be okay. It'll do well. The second biggest release is Neighbors 2, Sorority Rising from Universal, opening in 3,384 theaters. A comedy, again, R-rated. It's already made $20 million overseas. Once again, starring Seth Rogen, Rose Byrne, Zac Efron. This time, Chloe Moretz joins the group. Directed by Nick Stoller. Everybody's back for most of the main cast is back for this. It's getting good reviews. If you like the first one, they're saying you're going to love the second. In fact, some people are saying the second's better. So this is going to do well. Again, we haven't had I don't know when we've had an R-rated comedy. It's been a while. Oh, Deadpool, pretty much. Want to count that. So I'm pretty sure this will do very, very well. The question is going to be how much of an impact does the other R-rated movie coming out this weekend have? And that's The Nice Guys, a comedy thriller from Warner Brothers, opening in 2,865 theaters. So not as much theaters as Neighbors 2. R-rated again. Directed by Iron Man 3 director Shane Black, starring Ryan Gosling, Russell Crowe, Matt Bomer, and Kim Basinger. This has also gotten pretty good reviews. It's been promoted very well, much like Neighbors 2 has. The question is going to be this. How these two are going to really compete with each other. Now, Neighbors 2 will probably skew a little younger. Neighbors will probably skew a little older. So that will probably differentiate a little bit. If push comes to shove, I'm pretty sure Neighbors 2 is going to do better because of that, because of the younger audiences and Seth Rogen's fan base, etc. But I honestly think Angry Birds could be number 1 this weekend. Could be. I'm expecting it to pull in at least $50 million. If it doesn't, then I think Captain America: Civil War will be number one. We're probably around 40, 45, maybe even 50 million. Because I don't think it's going to have as big of a drop off like it did last week. Neighbors 2 is probably looking at around 20 to 30 million. And then Nice Guys is probably looking around 20. Now, Nice Guys could surprise us, and Neighbors 2 could flop, and it could be reverso. Nice Guys could be close to 30, and Neighbors 2 around 20. Those two are going to could easily flip-flop, but that's just the way I see it because of the younger audience and Zac Efron and Seth Rogen, you know. But I'm pretty sure the Angry Birds movies could do the best of the 3 new movies. So it's going to be between Angry Birds and Captain America: Civil War as to who's number one. And that threshold will probably be anywhere from 40 to 60 million who ends up being number one, depending on how Captain America: Civil War drops and how well Angry Birds is received. So it's a kind of a hard box office to read this week, and because of the fact Neighbors 2 and The Nice Guys are competing with each other, and because you just don't know if Captain America: Civil War is going to drop as steeply as it did last week, and you just don't know how people are going to receive Angry Birds. You know it's going to pull in around at least 30, 40 million, but you just don't know how high it's going to go. So, but my expectation is, I think Angry Birds. If I had to make a prediction, I say Angry Birds is number one with around 50 million. Civil War comes in around 40, 45. Neighbors 2 comes in around 30 million. And then The Nice Guys around 20. And before somebody says, can we really have that many movies with 20 million or more in the third week of May, weekend before Memorial Day weekend? You know, kids still in school. Yeah, you can, because colleges are out. You know, that plays a role. And again, it's the weekend. It's not like you're playing this out during the week or anything. So I think it is possible to have that. So that's just the way I see it. It's a harder box office read, so I'm not really cementing my picks or anything. It's just giving you a general idea of what could or could not happen. Or, you know, I gave you a little bit of a prediction, but it's kind of it's a hard week to kind of look at. So, so I gave you a kind of an overview, best I can do. Mike, do you have anything to add?
Guess what the number one movie domestically is this year? Deadpool. Still, not for very long, but still. And it'll probably be beaten by The Jungle Book, and although Jungle Book might fall off before that a little bit, and Captain America, which will get it.
Yeah,
I feel like Captain America's done.
Yep,
definitely get it. But yeah, it's Deadpool. Of all the movies, it's Deadpool. Messed up.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's great. Angry Birds will do well. I'm got moderate interest in Neighbors 2. I didn't really like Neighbors 1. It was okay. Had a little too many of the Seth Rogenisms in it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, what's Seth Rogen going to do? Hey, I know what I'm going to do. Hey, Rose Byrne, weed route around our kid. That is the majority of Seth Rogen's humor right now. Really hoping for him to do something interesting at some point that does not involve him smoking weed on set. So the disaster artist can't come out soon enough. It really can't. But I don't know. Maybe Neighbors 2 will be better. Boobies, because there's a sorority. It's the sorority one. I'm hoping. I'm optimistic. All right, I'm optimistic. You know what? The Nice Guys actually looks like an interesting movie. It's like Nice Guys and Money Monster were two of the serious kind of dramatic I was interested in because it's something new, something different, and had an interesting story. Monster I'm fairly interested in, but I don't know if I'm interested enough to go see it yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those movies like, hey, that actually looks pretty good.
Right.
I'm fairly interested in it. next week's going to be taken over by X-Men. It already came out overseas. Mixed reviews. We were talking about this earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Mixed reviews is the nice way to put it.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Mixed reviews is the very nice way to put it. And I was telling you earlier, feel bad because I think in comparison to Batman versus Superman, Dawn of, it would probably be seen as a better movie. Superhero movie. It's following Captain America, which is fantastic, and it's following Deadpool, which is in the same universe as this movie. It right now, according to all sources, it's just not as good. But it's still going to be number one. I mean, hell, Batman versus Superman was number one.
I don't know if it's going to be number one. Alice in Wonderland's coming out.
Not at the same time.
Yeah, same weekend.
Not at the same time.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Although Alice in Wonderland's coming out in less theaters, you know what? I think you might be right because Alice in Wonderland was one of those movies that actually made $1 billion too. And X-Men, none of the X-Men movies have they?
No. Deadpool's the highest grossing X-Men movie.
Yeah. You know what? Weekend, I'd probably be more inclined to see Alice Through the Looking Glass. Because I thought the first Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp and Tim Burton. Was Tim Burton on it? I don't know.
I think he produced it.
No, producer.
I know he's a producer. So yeah,
he's a producer. Yeah, but the first Alice in Wonderland movie was actually really good. It was a different telling of a tired story, and I liked it. So I'd be more inclined to see this one over X-Men, and I want to see X-Men. The X-Men. It's just I'm hearing some very mixed things like that.
I was worried about it my feelings. I've been worried about it for a while now, so
still am.
No question. But we'll see. I mean, my gut tells me that Alice in Wonderland's more of the mainstream thing anyway. And the thing that was going to put we'll talk more about that on Tuesday, but the thing that would push X-Men more, the thing that would have pushed X-Men more Alice in Wonderland would be good reviews. Especially in light of Deadpool. You know what I mean? I mean, that would have, because you had momentum coming out of Deadpool. And then, you really needed something to follow up really well. And I don't know. We'll see. But it's definitely going to – both movies are going to do really well next weekend. It's just a matter – I just don't know if I see X-Men being number one next weekend. So, but, yeah. Although you have to question why they would – X-Men – well, I think X-Men had the date first. Disney clearly believes in Alice in Wonderland to put it on that weekend, so – then again, if you look at Disney's box office earnings this year, they haven't made a mistake yet. So they could end up having a fourth movie in that top five if they get Alice in Wonderland up there. So, all right. So we'll talk about the Alice in Wonderland versus X-Men showdown, which could be historic actually next on Tuesday. But this weekend, it could belong to Civil War again, or it could belong to Angry Birds. I don't see it being anybody else. So. All right, so that's the box office. Let's jump to some TV highlights. You started last week. I'll start this week. I'll be person of interest to you because I know you're going to talk about it. I did watch it today. I did watch it. I did watch it, and it was phenomenal, so I will give you that.
There were 2 episodes, by the way. 2 episodes.
Oh, I know. I have my DVR corrected right. It's fine. I will... I'm not going to talk about Gotham because I thought that crap was awful. So I just did. Yeah, but I just want to say that. Blacklist was okay last week, but I think tonight's going to be the big one, so I'm going to refrain from talking about that. What did I watch on Monday? God, I haven't. I watched. I did watch. Oh, Flash was absolutely great. That was a good episode. That was really good. I won't spoil the big tragedy, but really a great ender. Flash had a good second half. It built and built. They had a really good second half. Their first half was real uneven, but the second half was better. I won't talk about Arrow. Sorry. I've seen it. I won't talk about it. Legends of Tomorrow, I'll talk about next week. Obviously, it's on tonight, so I'm not going to. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I got to avoid spoilers. Because I know some people haven't seen it. If you look at their Facebook page, people are whining about the fact that they haven't seen it. And but let me just say this: I'm really glad that I'm going to be vague about this deliberately. I'm really glad that they got to do what they wanted to do in the end. That's all I'm going to say. But Kevin Tantron did a fantastic job directing that episode. Completely fantastic. They just like last year where it looked like a movie. The entire 2 hours was like a movie. It was absolutely phenomenal. That really was probably Chloe Bennett's best acting she's ever done, which is that's a good thing. And I'm really curious to see where they're going to go. I'm really curious because I think it's taken us back to the way that the show should be in a way. We're going to kind of steer away from what we've been doing for the last year and a half and go back to more of the spy kind of stuff, which I think is going to be good for the show. So, and I'm really, really glad that they didn't kill off a certain character. I won't say who because that spoils who it isn't. But really, a really, really good 2 hours. And they needed that because and I know that it wasn't something – I know there's more to it than what we all saw. But after what happened with the other character, the character they killed off in the previous episode, they needed a good 2 hours, and they did it. They really did. Oh, and I'm really glad that they're going to be keeping John Hannah around because he's awesome. I really like the Dr. Radcliffe character, so that's a good thing. But yeah, great finale there. I'm being vague because I know some people don't watch things right away, so I don't want to be spoilery or anything. So, Mike, go ahead.
Okay. It's a hard habit to break, huh, Brian?
What?
Let's see.
Okay, all right. Come on.
It's a hard habit to break. Unfortunately, CBS does not feel that way about Person of Interest.
Yeah.
Person of Interest has responded by putting on another 2 brilliant episodes. There was some controversy about the first one, entitled 6,741. I think that's the episode title.
Mm-hmm.
That one's the Shaw-centric episode. It was like, oh, Shaw's coming back. All right, there's a bit of a twist to that one, okay? There's a bit of a twist to that one, but that was a very, very intense 1,741. That was the episode title. There was a very, very big twist to that episode. I can't spoil it, but Shaw's not back yet. But, there was some controversy. It's like there was a big scene involving Root and Shaw consummating their relationship in a way that adults do. Big kind of like, there was a little bit of pushback, but why are people complaining about that? I'm not sure. You don't want to see 2 very attractive women kissing on screen, person. Kissing in a way that signifies their deep bond that's been building over like maybe 3. Season 2. 6/7/41 or 43 or whatever it was. That was a good episode. The next one was called Shot Seeker. Episode. It also features a little spoiler at the end that we thought was a for sure thing at the end of last season. Turns out one of those characters is not quite dead. And it's actually it highlights Reese, highlights Fusco. Fusco is going to be one of the big characters this season. They said it prior to the season. They're kind of making good on their word that Fusco's questioning more now, and they haven't yet brought him in to the machine thing. They're saying it for his protection, but now Fusco is kind of going to be exploring everything either on his own because they haven't brought him in yet. Brought him in on the reveal yet. So his arc this season is going to be good, but it's going to be one of the highlights of the season because Kevin Chapman is a fine actor. And we've got another twist because, you know what, and here's the thing. This is a kind of spoiler, but as of right now, the Machine cannot beat Samaritan. They kind of been they've tested it right now. I mean, the Machine cannot beat AI. Not yet. You know, at the end, it's probably going to. You're just not there yet. We only have 13 episodes this season. We just run through the first 4. And next week, we're going through episode 7 because CBS has no respect for the series, clearly. Burning off all of these episodes spectacularly insulting fashion. Your best show and you're running it off. 3 episodes next week? Fuck you. But they're just going to continue to have a fabulous season. Best show on television by a long shot. I saw Flash. I'm caught up on Flash. Flash had a good episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's not surprising that Flash used Laurel Lance better than Arrow has. Shocker.
Yeah.
I will say Katie Cassidy was outstanding in this episode. I'm pretty sure it was meant as a those fantastic writers at Arrow. Because Flash has been doing great work. It really, really has. Good news is, and you know what? I don't mind spoiling this. Laurel Lance's Earth 2 character, yeah. There's hope for the future yet, fans of Arrow. There is hope for the future yet. Especially, and then one of the things everybody liked is that she actually, this Earth 2 Laurel Lance actually dressed more like the Black Canary.
Yeah.
More than the show version. Actually dressed more like the comics and the animated series Black Canary, which is big because people want to see it.
Right.
See the actual Black Canary, and they don't want to see the Felicity version of Black Canary. So fuck off, Arrow. I still can't bring myself to watch it, and I'm like 4 episodes behind, and I don't feel bad at all. I just know after everything else good, everything that's good is done, I'm going to just sit there and I'm going to be like, all right, bring it on.
Yep, pretty much.
Just bring it on. 3 episodes back in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, hey, I could watch Person of Interest, which is rushing through, or I could watch the final couple episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm not so sure I want to go back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. yet because the mystery over here is way better. but Coulson, but. So, I have been on I've been on a person of interest kick, so I'm sticking with person of interest for the time being.
You waited a year for it, so it's kind of
more important to me right now than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's not a kick. If you like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. more than person of interest, good for you. Way around. It's more of a priority for me. Also, the latest episode of Murdoch Mysteries was good. We dealt with burlesque dancers this week.
Yeah.
It was actually, you know what? I keep saying it. Watch Murdoch Mysteries. It's a great, great show. We got a really fantastic episode this week again. Not as strong as last week's episode, but last week's episode was probably supposed to be the finale, the season finale, but it wasn't. It wrapped up a major plot line from last season, and now we're going to deal with other plot lines from. So, Murdoch Mysteries, phenomenal show. Those Canadians know how to do some television even if they don't know how to do hockey and coffee. Murdoch Mysteries is phenomenal. Even if they can't play hockey this year in the NHL.
Okay.
Also, I'm trying to have to. I know I'm going to have to resign myself for having Tim Hortons after next week for the next 4 or 5 days. I am really, really trying hard to resign myself to that. I don't wanna. I really don't wanna.
You'll be okay.
I'm hoping there's a Starbucks. There is a Starbucks around.
All right.
I miss Duncan.
All right. So we're done with TV highlights. One last thing we're going to do tonight. I mentioned we'd be talking for a few entertainment news pieces here that you've all been asking us about, and they both kind of tie together, which is good because that'll save us a little bit of time. And they both involve the DC universe, movie universe, which has undergone significant changes over the last couple of weeks, starting with Ben Affleck being announced as an executive producer of the Justice League film. They're also going to have George Miller on as a producer, although he's not going to have a lot of input, but he's still going to be on there. So you have that piece of news, which happened a couple weeks. We never got the chance to talk about it, but we'll bring that up in conjunction with this. And then the news that came out, which is far more significant because it's not just about Justice League, it's about the DC Cinematic Universe as a whole. The DC Cinematic Universe now has apparently its own Kevin Feige because they have decided to make it a separate department, which is what Marvel does. Gee, I love how they're figuring this out now. They've created a separate branch called DC Films. Apparently, the Warner Bros. Could do this with all their properties, which they should have done to begin with, like Harry Potter and Harry Potter properties and all the other things all the other franchises have. They're going to organize into their own branches, which again they should have done before. John Berg and Jeff Johns will co-run the newly created DC film in an attempt to course correct Warner's comic book movies. This is in the aftermath of the reception of Batman vs Superman, which despite making over $800 million, most critics and fans have completely panned. So they've changed so basically what they're going to do is this is going to be all them. They're not going to, they're going to be all on their own. There's going to be apparently further executive changes and a potential hire at the senior level. So this is their idea of organizing it and making sure they do the right thing by the properties. Now, look, I don't necessarily mind Jeff Johns, although I don't think he gets it really either. I'm not familiar enough with John Berg to know, but so far Jeff Johns hasn't seemed to be that. Now, granted, they all seem to have learned that what happened with Batman vs Superman is a mistake. They should have realized that before that, but they didn't. But I think, maybe you need to make a more costly mistake, and that's what they did. So maybe he has seen maybe this will be okay because of the fact that they've learned. Nonetheless, I do think it's a step in the right direction. They needed their own department. They got it. All brands should have that. I don't, until you see more specific. I like Ben as a producer on Justice League. I think that's good. Until we see what specific changes they're going to make. Like, I almost feel like they should just reboot the entire thing. Or do some kind of X-Men Days of Future Past thing and do some kind of time warp or something. Because honestly, I would just like to start over. You want to keep Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck? Fine, go ahead. But please, just start over and do it right the next time. I mean, you haven't done a thing right with Man of Steel. You've done some things, but very little. So, there's not much you can really say, but it is a big piece of news. It is significant. For all the people out there that were defending it like, oh, you just don't get it, blah, 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 blah. Well, evidently, the studio realizes that they were in the wrong because they're making all these changes. So, clearly, they recognize there's a significant problem here. Therefore, the movie wasn't good. All right? We all can have our opinions, but if you're seeing the studio doing this, and they recognize even that that they made a mistake. Therefore, the movie wasn't good. There you go. So, we'll see how this pans out. The big thing is going to be seeing what happens over the next couple months and how they develop Justice League and all their future movies and what specifics that they change. That's going to be when we find out if this is going to be a more than just a baby step in the right direction, because that's what it is right now. All of it. That's all it is. Now, there's something that's been kind of lost amidst all the news focused on DC over the last few months, and that's that Marvel had a little bit of a rift, like Perlmutter and Kevin Feige, which has been solved, like Perlmutter not being involved anymore, and Kevin Feige being allowed to actually report to Alan Horn at Disney's by himself, not having to go through Perlmutter and all, who was the CEO of Marvel Entertainment. That one I'm not going to go into so much because really we don't know enough about it, and it's been kind of just tossed around. We know that's no longer an issue. And it kind of came to a head during the development of Civil War, and now it's not an issue. But again, we don't know a lot of the specifics of that like we do of the DC stuff, so I don't want to go into a full conversation about it until we know a little bit more about it. But we do know that there was stuff that went down there. So, for those that were asking me about that, I can't ask us to talk about that. We're not going to because there's not enough specific out there. But the DC thing, there's enough out there. So, Mike, do you have anything to add about the big changes here?
I wasn't paying attention.
Of course you weren't.
Apparently, though, Save Agent Carter's trending.
Well, yes, it should be.
Apparently the Legends of Tomorrow finale involves Laurel Land somehow. Apparently a lot of people are complaining, like, despite Rip Hunter literally saying the whole plot of the first season was to stop Savage from killing his wife and daughter, they can't go back and spoiler save Laurel Lance. What? That's what? Time machine. Of course you can do that. Yes, there are fixed points in time, apparently. However, we are on a time traveling show. The ability to fix terrible decisions with some of these time traveling shows, not specifically Doctor Who. Doctor Who does it fairly right most of the time. Something like Legends of Tomorrow, when you are precisely dealing with the DC CW TV universe, okay, And you have the time traveling guys. Traveling guys can be used occasionally, and maybe even should be used sometimes as a way to fix your fuck ups. Specifically, when you do something that is so stupid it hurts, the fuck up. This is one of those cases where they should probably have fixed the fuck up. Right. I don't know. I'm not watching it right now because I'm doing this show. However, I probably will watch Legends of Tomorrow because it's got me interested. It's piqued my interest a little bit. Speaking of fixing the fuck-ups, now we're talking about the DC movie universe. Did I hear Jeff Johns' name again?
Yeah, he's going to be one of the major executives. He's going to co-run DC films with John Berg.
Okay, Jeff Johns is one of the more celebrated comic writers of the day. So he knows story. Convoluted story because he's a comic book writer. So element here. I'm not sure about the other guy, but God, at least it's not Zack Snyder. There should be taken off of all future films. Plural. Because as good as 300 was, and it was okay. Was a little bit of a disappointment in my eyes. It really was. Wasn't that great. Not see his next movie, Man of Steel, and I like the parts Christopher Nolan was involved with. The movie was a turd. Got a total turd in Batman versus Superman, so you cannot count on that man to do the cinematic universe right. When you've got him coming out and saying, hey, Batman could be butt-fucked when he was training with the League of Shadows, subjected to prison sex. And then you hear this sound immediately afterwards during that interview. So Zack Snyder should not be running anything. Honestly, it's probably for the best. I swear. Really is.
Well, they haven't gotten him off out of Justice League yet, so it looks like they're going to keep him on there. So
they're going to keep him on there for now. For now.
Well, at least there's change. Well, again, the next few months are going to be telling, because that's going to. I mean, once we learn specifics, that's going to tell us whether they actually get it or not. So, all right. So that's really it. That's all we had to go through. Those are only two news pieces that you all were asking us about, so I figured I'd just bring them up quickly. 62-48 Cleveland at the half. That game on ESPN. Eastern Conference Finals Game 2. Cleveland leads that series 1-0. They're up 62-48. So again, if you're interested in that game, check it out on ESPN. Cleveland looking to take a 2-0 series lead as the series will shift to Toronto for games 3 and 4. All right, so with that being said, we are done for tonight. As always, just because the show is over does not mean you have to stop interacting and contributing to our show. You continue to have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. And remember to use the hashtags, hashtag itspotlight411, hashtag ITS5, which again, of course, represents our 5th anniversary on here as a podcast. Or you can create your own hashtag. But, maybe depending on what you're talking about, wrestling, basketball, you can hashtag ITS wrestling, hashtag ITS basketball. You can create your own hashtag. All we ask is don't be disrespectful or offensive. Have fun, and be creative, but just don't be disrespectful or offensive. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. Make sure you like our page upon finding it. And again, you can give us suggestions, topic ideas, or breaking news items related to sports, entertainment, or wrestling you want to see make sure we cover. reactions or comments, things we said on the show, things we did, any of those things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. So make sure that you feel free to utilize those resources if you're interested. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about our show, especially as it relates to scheduling. If there's any delays or last-minute postponements, the easiest way to get that information is on Facebook and Twitter. If you'd like to keep up with our show or check out old episodes or maybe missed a part of an episode or maybe missed an episode entirely, whatever the case, you have a couple options. You can check us out. If you're somebody that likes seeing us on screen, you can check us out on Google Plus and YouTube, where you can find all the episodes we've ever done for Google Plus and YouTube, which is everything from mid-October until tonight's episode, that being the most recent, which is tonight. All those episodes are on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on both sites, and you have access to our channels on both sites and access to every episode we've done here on Google Plus and YouTube. And so that's one way you can keep up with our show or check out episodes again. Another way, if maybe you're more of a fan of audio podcasting or you want to listen to us on the go, or maybe you're also interested in some of our older episodes, anything from before October of last year, meaning anything from when we started in October 2010 all the way up until tonight. You can check us out on our main host site, Podbean, or also on iTunes to search for In the Spotlight 401 on both sites, and you'll have access to our channels on both sites. You can find every episode we've ever done over the years, from the last 5.5 years, everything from TalkShoe, Blog Talk Radio, Libsyn, iTunes, everything from here on Google Plus and YouTube. All of it transferred from streaming to audio for you. All of it's available on Podbean and iTunes. All the episodes are listed on there in order from most recent to the oldest. So you have that as where you can access old episodes. Maybe you're a longtime fan that wants to check out old episodes again, or a new fan that wants to look at those old episodes for the first time. Or maybe you're interested in our more recent episodes, but you prefer to listen to them in audio instead of seeing us on screen and streaming format. Whatever the case, you can find us on Google. You can find us on Podbean and iTunes, as well as Google Plus and YouTube. Those are the ways which you can keep up with our show and check out episodes again. So feel free to utilize those resources as well. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
No, it's time for bed.
Thank myself for another great show. Pat myself on my back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contribution to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be listening later, thank you so much. Again, 62-48 Cleveland in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals. That game on ESPN, so check it out if you're interested. They're just underway in the second half. Cleveland leads that series 1-0. That is it for this week. As I said, we'll be back next week with only one show. Again, no show next Thursday. We should be back to 2 shows the week after. Our only show next week will be on Tuesday night. It'll be just like tonight's sports entertainment combo. Anything from sports we have to cover, most notably the NBA playoffs, we will cover. And then, of course, we'll do some wrestling stuff as well, the fallout from Extreme Rules and Monday Night Raw. And also, again, entertainment stuff we usually do, box office beat, TV highlights, all that stuff, all coming up on Tuesday, which is our next show. And, of course, that will be this coming Tuesday, May the 24th. So until then, I hope you have a great rest of your night, a great weekend, and a great start to your week next week. We'll see you back here, broadcasting and streaming live here on Google Plus and YouTube at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time this Tuesday, May the 24th. Until then, have a good night, everybody.